Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Felon is Not an Option, the channel where we are working on how to pass the MFT National Exam. Um, I guess as well as the California as well, because I am doing some of the models for the California exam as well. So I figured, and I had been thinking about it, maybe weekly I can do breadcrumbs to some of the questions that we have in a group, or just some questions that I find on Quizlet, or chat gpt. So I've been crunching and everything and just been doing a lot of things, but some of these questions are from Quizlet that I found that someone else posted, as well as a few that has been altered in chat gpt, because I like to see some of the different perspectives that we can look at these questions. But I'm always I'm comparing and contrasting them to what they look like on AATBS and Jerry Grossman, and how you are to find the best answer to these questions. So let's take a deep dive into the first question here. We are treating these questions as if we are taking the actual exam, okay? And I'm going to read through them. Feel free to pause the video and see if you can answer the question yourself. I am totally fine with that. David, a 40-year-old client, has been in individual therapy with an MFT for the past 6 years to address his agoraphobia. Before treatment, David rarely left his home except to go to work, to visit one or two close friends. But through consistent therapy, he no longer experiences intense fear of public spaces and has since been able to form a new relationships, date, and he's recently married. David and his wife Anna are now interested in beginning couples counseling. At the same time, David also expresses a strong desire to continue individual sessions with the MFT because he feels his progress might slip if he stops treatment. Now, the question here is, how should the MFT best direct the course of treatment, right? And when we see these kind of questions, we know that it's probably going to be like a 2 and 3 point answer that we are looking for. But all points of that answer must be correct, right? So if we were actually taking this exam, we would go back to the vignette. This is what I would do. I would go back to the vignette, point out some of that stuff that's important and see what's going to be matching down there in some of those answer responses. And take a look at some of the answer responses, and we can go through them. We got some A saying normalizing, D is also saying normalize. So we got two answers here, right, that are sounding almost like the same, right? So then if we take a look at the breadcrumbs, and this is how I found the best answer, right? You want to highlight his individual therapy, past 6 years. He has agoraphobia, right? Agoraphobia, right? He was once stuck at home a lot of the times, but now he's married. But since therapy is leaving, he's fearing that his progress is going to slip. Those are some of the huge highlights that we want to take a look at. So A says to normalize David's concerns. Yes, we want to do that, right? We want to, but it also says to terminate individual therapy. And why are we terminating? We haven't even addressed the fact that he's afraid to be without the therapist. So that's making A wrong. The first part of it sounds good, but the rest of it is, we don't like that one. B just says adjust David's treatment goals to include marital concerns. No, he's met his treatment goals. We're not adjusting anything, right? C says continue individual sessions with David. Absolutely not. He's met his treatment goals. Clients are not allowed to hold us hostage, and we are not allowed to hold our clients hostage. Once those treatment goals have been met, you need to be moving towards termination. Anxiety is normal. That's why it says normalize David's fears, and D, explore possible termination issues, and then gradually decrease the frequency of individual sessions, right? We can't see that couple, so that's something we're going to have to refer that couple out. We can't hold our clients hostage, and our clients definitely can't hold us hostage just because they're afraid to live life without us. Isn't that the goal of therapy? The goal of therapy is to not have it forever, right? All right, question number 2. James, a 29-year-old client, has been in individual therapy with an MFT for 4 years to address major depressive disorder. When he began treatment, James was socially withdrawn, struggling to maintain employment, and had difficulty managing daily responsibilities. Over time, his symptoms has improved significantly. He has maintained steady employment for over 2 years, rebuilt relationships, and recently became engaged to his partner. Mia, Okay, James and Mia are now considering premarital counseling. James expressed wanting to continue weekly individual sessions with the MFT, explaining he is worried the person might return if he ends therapy. So this is like similar to the last one that we just had. So we'll treat it the exact same way that we treated the other one. He's ready for termination. So keep that in mind, right? But then the question is, what is the most clinically appropriate next step for the MFT? Pause the video, see if you can answer this question yourself. We just walked through one together, so I know you're going to be able to answer this one the best way you possibly can. And then let's take a look at some of these breadcrumbs, right? So if we were to go back, and we're taking this exam for real, 4 years, we're highlighting that he's major depressive disorder. He was socially withdrawn, struggling to maintain enjoyment, but now he's rebuilt friendships, he's became engaged, and now he's considering premarital counseling, okay? So if we take a look at A says reassure James about his progress. What does that mean? What, you're just going to reassure him? Oh, you'll be fine, James. I know you'll do fine. I mean, okay, let's not jump the gun here, right? It says complete the individual treatment plan. Initiate a separate couples treatment plan. No, you cannot. You must refer this couple out. A is completely wrong. C says expand James' current treatment plan to include relationship goals. No, we're not. Because that treatment goal, he's already met the goals. We're not expanding anything. Now it's making it sound like he's going to stay in therapy. No, he's met his goals. We cannot be held hostage with the client. D says continue weekly individual sessions with James. No, the first answer is incorrect. Refer him and Mia to premarital counseling is correct, but the first part of that answer is incorrect. We're not continuing weekly sessions because if we go back and look at B, explore James' concerns about relapse, yes, process the meaning of ending therapy, and collaborate with him on a gradual step-down plan for sessions. Now, some of these questions when it involves termination, the answers are not going to always look the same, so don't always be just looking for some of the exact same words and terms, okay? So a gradual step down plan for sessions, that's absolutely a correct response. Collaborate with him, absolutely a correct response. Termination and goal formulating is collaborative with the therapist and the client. We're just going to explore his concerns about relapse. He's been in therapy for 4 years. He's made his progress. It is time for him to live life without the therapist, okay? Sophia, a 15-year-old, has been in family therapy for 1 year to address conflicts at home and academic struggles related to ADHD. Over the past 6 months, Sophia's grades have improved and her relationship with her parents have become more cooperative. Her parents express feeling ready to end therapy, while Sophia says she just doesn't want it to stop because she's afraid everything will go back to the way that it was. Similar to the last ones, we're noticing a pattern here, and that's the goal. I want us to be able to see there's a pattern to these questions. How should the MFT proceed? Take a look at those answer responses. Pause this video. We just did 2 great questions, and I know you are going to do so good on this question here by finding the best answer, right? So it's like the same pattern we've been seeing. Let's look at some of the breadcrumbs, okay? Alrighty, family therapy 1 year, conflicts at home, academic struggles, her grades have improved. Look at that word improved. And the relationship with her parents have become more cooperative. Look at those goals that's been met, right? Her parents are ready to terminate, but Sophia's quite not. So let's take a look at it. B says continue weekly sessions indefinitely to ensure Sophia maintains her goals. That is incorrect. I don't know why. Why do I have that lit up in green? No, that is absolutely wrong. All the way wrong. Don't look at that. We're not continuing weekly sessions indefinitely to ensure Sophia maintains her gains. That is absolutely correct. Carrie, I don't know what's wrong with you. C says terminate therapy immediately since the family met their goals. True, but not true. We're not terminating immediately because Sophia has some anxiety, so we need to address that, right? Shift the focus to individual therapy for Sophia to continue working. Anxiety at the end of therapy, it's normal. It's nothing wrong with it. It does not mean that you need to move them to an individual therapist. It does not mean that you need to continue therapy, right? A says discuss with Sophia and her parents the progress and begin a planned step-down process normalizing her fears. Absolutely, this is what we want to do. It is time to move forward. Sophia's not going to keep us in therapy just because she's afraid. She has these tools, she has these skills, she has the tools. We just need to plan what it's going to look like stepping down from being in therapy, right? Ignore BB is totally incorrect. I don't know. I must have been sleepy when I did this. It's totally incorrect. We're not continuing weekly sessions when goals have been met. The Shin family has been in therapy for 18 months to address intergenerational anxiety patterns and enmeshment. They report improved boundaries and communication, and a therapist observes increased differentiation. One family member expresses worry that without therapy, we'll fall back into old habits. From a Bowian perspective, what is the most appropriate action? So now we have a theory specific question here, and we need to pave way to those answer responses that is going to match that theory specific question that it is asking for. Pause this video, look at some of these answers. What is the most Bowen response that you see in these answer responses right now? Because that is going to lead you to your best answer. And if we were taking this exam, this is what I would be highlighting: 18 months, intergenerational anxiety patterns, enmeshment, improved boundaries and communication. Therapy needs to be about over with, right? One family member expresses worry. Now, when you're working with a family and it's time to terminate, and one family member expresses anxiety, you still got to address it. You still have to address it. You just can't terminate just based off everybody else. Termination must be collaborative, right? B says continue weekly sessions to prevent regression. No. You've already met your goals. It's time to terminate. C says terminate therapy abruptly. Now you're trying to abandon the family. Jesus, you just helped them and now you're trying to abandon them. No, won't work. Shift to individual therapy with each family member. Now you're trying to make more work on that therapist. I've been working with you for how long? A year and a half almost. No, I'm not about to do individual therapy with y'all. You're ready to go, so go. A says highlight the family's progress and differentiation. Create a plan for self-monitoring. Schedule occasional check-ins as they transition out of therapy. Nice. Beautifully, very beautifully said from a born therapist. You get the differentiation that's included, and you're also going to be creating a plan to help this family step down from therapy. Jasmine, 27, has been in solution-focused brief therapy for 8 sessions addressing career transitions. She has achieved her stated goals, reports satisfaction, and demonstrates consistent use of solution strategies. She asks to keep coming weekly just to have someone to talk to. Now, again, this is a theory-specific question, and we're having a client that is trying to, again, hold us hostage, and we're not doing that. You met your goals. It's time for you to go. Take a look at these answer responses. Feel free to pause this video. I know you are going to find the best answer, but keep in mind this is a theory-specific question for solution-focused brief therapy. Make sure that you are looking for the answer responses that matches this theory. Now, let's take a look at some of the answer responses. B says to continue weekly sessions. Wrong. We're not. You've already met your goals. C says transition into long-term psychodynamic therapy. So now we're switching from one model to another model. Sounds weird, right? It's weird because it's not right. D says expand goals to keep the therapeutic relationship active. If she wants somebody to just talk to, then she needs to be calling her friends or somebody. We are not here to just have somebody to talk to when goals have been met. You're wasting money and you're wasting my time, okay? A says highlight her progress and readiness to end, collaboratively design a plan for maintaining gains, and offer booster sessions as needed. Now, here's the thing. That booster session terms, I had never seen that terminology until I started using AATBS and Jerry Grossman. And let me tell you, if you see an answer response that's talking about offering booster sessions or whatever, it's the right type of language. It's correct language. Just make sure that the rest of the answer is also correct. Does that make sense? Booster sessions is a phrase or a term that I have seen multiple times in AATBS and Jerry Grossman. Just make sure that the rest of the answer is correct if you see booster sessions as needed. Okay? Alrighty. In a family session, the parents describe their 8-year-old daughter's tantrums as manipulative and controlling. The therapist notices the parents give in to demands to avoid conflict, inadvertently reinforcing the behaviors. What strategic intervention best addresses this pattern? Okay, now we have a theory-specific question. Theory-specific questions are what? They need to have a theory-specific response. Okay? Now, pause this video. Take a look at some of these responses. Okay? And then we're going to move on to the breadcrumbs. Make sure that you have the right terms, the right language for each of these models to help you find the best answer. So, 8-year-old daughter, tantrums, manipulative and controlling is put in quotations. Pay attention to it. The therapist noticed the parents given to the demands to avoid conflicts. Okay? All right. Strategic intervention. B says encourage the parents to explore their own childhood experiences with discipline. Automatically get rid of it. Strategic therapists focus on the present, here and now. Those current disabling sequences, they don't dig in the past. Get rid of it. Implement a token economy to reduce tantrums. Now, token economy is from where? That's like your whole cognitive behavior therapy. You're trying to work on changing the behaviors of the child by using token economy. No, get rid of it. D says assign the child an ordeal. Now, ordeal is strategic. It's strategic, but the rest of the answer is incorrect. Every time she has a tantrum, but it's not specific. Like, what do you mean assign the child an ordeal every time she has a tantrum? Okay, and then what? Then what's going to happen? It's not specific enough. It doesn't make sense, so you're going to get rid of it, right? A says reframe the tantrums as a child way of testing the strength of the parental hierarchy. That is the best answer. So sometimes in the beginning of a strategic therapist, they might do a reframe. But if you go back and take a look, manipulative and controlling is put in quotations mark, right? So that's the child's way of testing the strength. The child is telling you something, right? Their behaviors or interaction is telling you something. But let's just look at it in a different way or whatever to see how it's functioning in the system, right? I'm hoping that's making sense. Reframe the tantrums, the strength of the parental hierarchy, right? Because the parents keep giving in. Why are you giving in? We gotta get this parental hierarchy on the same page, right? And I get it. It's not so much as structural therapy. Strategic therapy also focuses on the parental hierarchy as well. But don't get it mixed up with structural therapy though. Okay? And we can go over some of those at a different time. All right, so this is our last one. The Johnson family has been in therapy for several months addressing their teenage daughter's self-harming behaviors. The daughter reports feeling unheard at home, and the therapist notices blurred boundaries between the daughter and mother, with the father largely disengaged. What should be the therapist's primary focus in evaluating ongoing treatment? Now, we're going to take a look at this question, right? And we're treating this as if we're taking the actual exam, okay? So take a look at some of those answer responses. And if you take a look, notice, like sometimes the question is not going to say, as a structural therapist, as a Bowen therapist, what would you do next? Sometimes it's just like, okay, I'm looking at the answer responses and it's looking like structural therapy answer responses, right? So then that's what we're going to be probably looking at along the lines of structural family therapy. Okay, so if we were taking this actual exam, and I would be highlighting, we have the Johnson family, several months addressing their teenage daughter's self-harming behavior. Feeling unheard at home, there's some blurred boundaries that's going on between the mother and the daughter, and the father is disengaged, right? So what should the therapist's primary focus in evaluating ongoing treatment should look like? B says recommend immediate individual therapy for the daughter, focused on self-harm reduction. No, we don't have to do that. We shouldn't have to separate the daughter to focus on the self-harm reduction when clearly we're seeing that the parents are also involved, correct? C says encourage the daughter to verbalize feelings more openly in family sessions. We can do that. She can do that during session, but then what's going to happen once they go back home and hierarchies and boundaries are not put in place, right? Refer the father for individual therapy to increase his engagement. How is that going to work? So now, again, we're pulling the father out from the family when it's clear that he's already disengaged. We want to be able to work with that family together to work on some of those boundaries and some of the subsystems that we see here in this vignette. So A says strengthen the parental hierarchy and clarify boundaries to reduce enmeshment and improve family support. So here's the thing. I get it. They mention the self-harming behaviors. it's a distractor, but then it's not a distractor. Yes, you should pay attention to it, but also make sure that you are going to be choosing the best answer when it comes to that, right? She has the self-harming behaviors, but then C says encourage the daughter to verbalize her feelings more. That's not going to cut it, because then what happens when they go home, right? What are we working on when she goes home? Recommend individual family therapy for the daughter focused on self-harm reduction. We can't just get rid of the daughter when, as you can see, there is some issues going on with the executive subsystem, and the executive subsystem needs to be included, right? Because even with the mother and a daughter, there's some boundary issues. And we got to reduce that enmeshment to improve the family support. And then they also need to strengthen the parental hierarchy in the home. Mom and dad must be on the same page. Mom is overly involved in the daughter and the father is disengaged. We got to work on the parental hierarchy. I'm hoping these questions all make sense. If anybody have any questions, comments, or concerns, or if there's a question that you just can't just quite understand and you still want better clarification, shoot me a message on Facebook. Leave me a comment. My email address is public on there, so leave me an email if you feel the desire to do so. I am here to help and support each and every one of you. I hope and pray that everyone has a great Monday. I will talk to you all soon.